Welcome back to BBC World News America. We will do what it takes. That was President Obama's pledge to the people of Haiti today, and he's sending his Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, there tomorrow to help make that promise real. He's also sending troops, thousands of them. Some have arrived already and others are on their way. Their priorities are to provide security and make sure aid gets to the millions who need it. But as David Schuchman reports, there are still huge logistical challenges.
3 days after the earthquake, and the stunned survivors of this broken country plead for help more urgently than ever. Aid still isn't reaching those who need it, but tonight the promises were repeated.
The scale of the devastation is extraordinary, as I think all of us are seeing on television, and the losses are heartbreaking. I pledged America's continued commitment to the government and the people of Haiti.
Rescue teams are now arriving, but the airport at Port-au-Prince is the only way in, and it's become a bottleneck. The control tower was damaged. The one runway, luckily, is open. The challenge as the aid effort gathers pace is turning goodwill into real help on the ground in Haiti. So far, donations of about £245 million have been pledged. Some 30 countries are responding, with the United States taking the lead, deploying a growing number of forces. Warships, including an aircraft carrier with 19 helicopters, a floating hospital due late next week, and more than 5,000 soldiers and Marines. The first are there already. But there are many difficult challenges ahead. The port is damaged and closed to large ships. The airport, with its one runway, isn't nearly big enough. And many key roads are destroyed. Now, this is the UN's latest satellite picture, the red and orange circles marking the roads that are totally or partly blocked. So how about parachuting supplies? The Pentagon has ruled that out.
Seems to me that without having any structure on the ground in terms of distribution, that an airdrop is simply going to lead to riots as people try and go after that stuff.
There are UN soldiers there already, but there's a worrying lack of authority, which makes aid work all the harder.
There is no system in Haiti at the moment. The government clearly is overwhelmed by what it faces. The UN team was a peacekeeping team. The UN needs to get experts in to make sure that the aid gets distributed quickly, and that is happening.
And that's what the people of Haiti are waiting to see, that all the talk of aid will become reality. Containers lie scattered tonight at the ruined port, and just offshore, the first sight of the giant American aircraft carrier, the Carl Vinson, one sign of a global response. David Schuchman, BBC News.
Well, when it comes to both the logistics of a huge military operation and the high-stakes diplomatic efforts being made to help Haiti, perhaps no one knows more than General Colin Powell. He served as chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and as US Secretary of State, and he joins us now in the studio. And I should add that you also know Haiti very well, General. Put your military hat on for a moment. From all the reports we're getting, and we heard it there in the programme, the aid which has arrived at the airport is not getting to the people on the streets of Port-au-Prince. What needs to happen to change that?
Well, I've been through many exercises like this, both in peacetime, in hurricane relief, and in war, where you have to surge. You have to surge at the place you're coming from and get your troops together, the supplies together, and then fly them in. But getting them in isn't enough. That's wholesale distribution. Then you have to retail it out. So the first thing you have to do in a situation like this is you have to have order. You have to restore order. The Haitian government has to be made to function again. The UN has to be made to function again. And the presence of the UN peacekeepers and with the arrival of American soldiers, I would say that the very first goal is to establish order. And only with order can you then start opening up the streets, clearing them, and bringing aid in and distributing the aid to where it is needed, and not just have a truck come into a neighborhood and the strongest ones go and grab the food off and steal everything.
Right, but if you are surviving right now in Port-au-Prince, you haven't got time to wait for the establishment of an effective government,
what's your alternative? You have to wait for it. No, without an effective government, whether it's the Haitian government, I'm not talking about having elections or anything, but you have to have a government that's functioning, President Powell and his cabinet, and at the same time the UN and United States forces and other forces can help with that establishment of order. because you will never have an effective distribution system if there is no order, if the supplies coming in aren't protected, if the roads aren't kept clear of burning tires or bodies that have been laid out to blockade the roads. And so the surge has now started. It's been a little over 3 days. The surge has started. The supplies are coming. The money's coming. Organizations are coming in. It's going to this one place, the airport, which is the biggest constraint. But even if you had more runways at the airport, you've got to be able to get it out of the airport, protect the supplies that are going into the city, and make sure the supplies go to the right place. That requires order.
You've spoken about the need for a long-term engagement now. Do you think that's really going to happen? There is a history of compassion and abandonment, particularly when it comes to Haiti.
There is a history of compassion and abandonment, and there is also a history of putting a lot of aid into Haiti and a lot of commitment to Haiti that ends up not being used properly by the governments that have been in power in Haiti. And so it's going to be even more difficult this time to generate compassion, commitment, aid, and making sure it goes the right place to rebuild the country. Because in a few weeks' time, order will be restored, the streets will be open, all of those people who died in this tragedy will have been buried, the hospitals will have taken care of the injured, and you will still be sitting there with a flattened city.
But the chances are the rest of the world will forget about it, move on to another story. Is there anything that makes you think this time is going to be different?
It remains to be seen. Nobody can answer that question. And even if you can get that kind of commitment, it doesn't really work. We've seen this repeatedly. It doesn't work. Coming back to my first point, unless we can put in place a government of Haiti that is non-corrupt, that is functioning, and that can work with the international community to make good. Lots of money has been available to Haiti in recent years, but contributors have been reluctant to let it go out into the system because they weren't sure it was going to be used properly. But this time it is even more serious and requires an even greater commitment than any time in the past, because you're going to see, when the dust is settled in this first instance, a city that has collapsed.
You mentioned there that the Secretary of State is traveling to Haiti this weekend. What does she need to do? Are there suggestions that there are tensions between the Haitians in the government who are there and the U.S., which is effectively an invading force of some sort at the moment?
I don't think they're going to see us in an invading force at all. They're going to be desperate to see us arrive. They know our soldiers. They know what our soldiers can do. Our soldiers have been in Haiti many times in the course of Haiti's history, and I think they will be welcomed, and they will help restore order. The Haitian people will want order. Without that order, it's the strong men who will beat the women out of the way when it comes to distributing supplies. We'll steal those supplies. We have seen this happen. And so I think the Haitian people, especially those in greatest need, will welcome the sense of order that will be brought by U.S. and United Nations troops.
You've mentioned, looking at the pictures of the palace, that you've been in that
many
palace.
Times.
It must be devastating for you to see the country like that, particularly in a sense, given that in the last few years we had actually seen progress. For perhaps the first time in Haiti,
in the last few years, there has been some progress. Not to say that it had turned a corner, but there had been some progress. And so this is a massive setback, not only a humanitarian tragedy, but a political and economic and social setback of incredible proportions. And my heart goes out to the Haitian people. They're wonderful people. They are family-oriented. They love life, and they have been dealt a bad hand for so many years. Their island has been deforested and destroyed. The wealth that the people had has been squandered by corrupt leaders, and they are in desperate need. And I hope that the world will not say, well, we've cleaned it up, we've done our job, let's go home. We have to stay for the long term, as President Obama has said.
General Colin Powell, thank you so much for coming into the
studio.
Thank you, Kathy. Currently, hundreds of rescue teams are now rushing in to help the people in the quake zone, but tens of thousands of aid workers were already inside Haiti at the time of the quake. Anne MacDonald was one of them. A year ago today, she moved to Haiti to work for an organization affiliated with Cornell University, trying to fight the spread of HIV and AIDS. She was in Port-au-Prince when the quake hit on Tuesday. She's just got back this afternoon to the US, and she joins me now in the studio. Anne, thank you so much for coming in, and
Thanks
welcome
for having
home.
me.
You've lived now in Haiti for a year.
I have.
In fact, a year today, as far as I understand.
It's been a wonderful one, and I very much wish that more people had gotten a chance to see images of it and a lot of its beauty and a lot of the ways that Haiti's an incredibly vibrant, incredible country prior to this event.
When we look at the images that we're seeing now, what makes it so difficult as an aid worker there to mount the kind of operation that's needed, even in the best of times. This is not an easy country to work in.
Absolutely. In addition to going on to 4 generations now of Haitians that have had to live without basic public education, there's also been a chronic lack of infrastructural development. So most of the main roads in Haiti have not been improved upon greatly or expanded in about 40 years either. So, for instance, I lived at the Hotel Montana, which is more or less probably no more than 5 to 6 miles from downtown Jescu, where our offices are. And it still took anywhere from 45 minutes to up to an hour and a half each day to make that drive. One single car breaking down or blocking the road can lead to hours of traffic for everyone involved. Even when it rains, so much trash floods into the streets because of the lack of sewage and sanitation support that the roads become impassable as well.
Right, so when you have an earthquake of this scale and the amount of debris that you have on top of that existing situation, it gives us some sense of why it was so difficult.
Correct.
You mentioned the Hotel Montana there.
Yes.
You were there in Port-au-Prince when the earthquake happened, but you weren't at the hotel, which collapsed.
Thankfully, yes. And I was not able to even go up towards it because the roads have been so destroyed, but was in Toujou, which is closer to downtown, about probably 5 minutes from the Champ Mars, which has been transformed from a beautiful park into a refugee village. But
you were meant to be at the hotel.
I was meant to be at the hotel. I'm usually there every afternoon around that time, getting home from work, but that day, had a random change of a rescheduling of one French class that has been on Wednesday for 9 months, and very thankfully chose to not skip school that day.
So you didn't skip school, but for those who you left in the hotel and for your neighbors and for those in your organization, it wasn't such a lucky story.
Correct. We're mourning Mrs. Cardozo, the lovely, wonderful owner of the Montana, who is the mother of a dear friend, and very much wish the best for everyone, and I'm just praying for everyone who's still waiting to be discovered to be found as quickly as possible.
Have you heard from your colleagues?
I have. We also lost our beloved head of our bacteriology lab, Maurice Timothy, rest in peace, ma'am, and who was a critical asset to our work in fighting tuberculosis, who unfortunately was lost along with her mother in the collapse of a home. But Jescu also got all of its assets back together and was back in operation yesterday, treating thousands of people, including about 3,000 people that have moved onto a soccer field on our campus.
Anne, thank you so much for coming in. You've been through an extraordinary experience, and we really appreciate you coming into the studio to join us this evening.
Thank you.
And to learn how you can help the people of Haiti, please make sure to go to our website. There you will find a list of the different aid organizations mobilizing relief supplies. It is all there at bbc.com/World News America. And amid the sadness, we have one very welcome piece of news to bring you out of Haiti tonight. Yesterday, we introduced you to Darlene Cedarbros, a mother in New York who'd been unable to reach her 5 young daughters living in the quake zone. Well, today, Darlene reached relatives and received the word she had been so desperately waiting for. All of her girls are okay. She's now trying to get on a flight to be reunited with them.